How could an 18th century map predict the shape of Antarctica? Philippe Buache, a disciple and son-in-law of Guillaume Delisle, became a real geographer of France. In his time, maps were more than scientific tools. They were interpretations influenced by explorer accounts, and sometimes by intuition. The cartography of the 18th century lacked satellite data and systematic explorations. Therefore, unknown spaces were filled with conjectures that varied in their foundation. This led to the creation of maps that reflected more imagination than reality. One of the obsessions of the time was the existence of a southern continent. It was believed that there should be a large mass of land in the southern hemisphere to balance the lands of the north. This idea persisted for centuries, conditioning the representation of the world. Fragmented news about territories like Australia fueled the suspicion that a continent still to be discovered existed in the south of the planet. Thus, maps began to include imaginary ways that tried to make sense of the unknown. In 1739, Buache published a map that represented a large continental mass in the region of present-day Antarctica. What was remarkable was not only its existence, but the way in which it divided that territory into two blocks, separated by inland seas. Buache based his work on testimonies of sailors who had explored the southern seas. Although these accounts were fragmentary, they offered indications that the cartographer tried to integrate into his representation of the southern continent. Over time, some have pointed out similarities between the map of Buache and modern reconstructions of Antarctica without ice. However, these coincidences are forced interpretations and do not imply scientific precision. There are different versions of the map of Buache, suggesting that its representation was not a definitive fact. In some versions, the supposed Antarctica disappears completely, indicating the evolution of its hypotheses. Despite the lack of evidence, Buache's map has fed theories about ancient civilizations with advanced knowledge. However, these interpretations lack scientific backing and are more narrative than realities. Comparisons with other maps, such as that of Piri Reis, have reinforced these fascinating ideas. However, academic studies agree that these representations are the result of partial sources and accumulated errors. The map of Buache, far from being a test of hidden knowledge, reflects the limitations of illustrated cartography. It shows the human process of imagining and building knowledge about the unknown.